The doors open. You walk in on a big screen and comfortable chairs. The seat you take represents your interest in the movie you're soon to watch. The lights dim. The opening company logos flash. Next thing you know, you realize you absolutely wasted your time. Don't be too sad though. Those are only about 2 hours you're never getting back. How many of you know that saying on every other filmmaking tutorial, blank can make or break a film? Usually that blank can be filled with audio, camera, lighting, etc. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that although that saying may be true, we always forget what really matters. Your talent. Think about it. If you wanted to be the next big thing, why not just spend time getting your voice out there? For instance, a fellow filmmaker friend of mine makes great content, but his stories are what keeps me going and remembering his films and videos. But he claims his camera is garbage and he always complains, with good reason, that his audio is horrendous. Granted, it's true that you can get away with bad visuals if you have good audio, but what makes him unique to me is that he focuses a lot on building stories and developing characters. Basically, he uses what he has to get his point across and his name out there. One of my favorite short films he's done is called Getting Even. Sure, it wasn't the best visually and audibly, but his performance and the other performances and the story is what kept me on the edge of my seat when I first saw it. But he always does say he would want a red camera and all that stuff, and he's the kind of guy that wouldn't shy away from spending a good 10 grand range for a short film. He's willing to shoot, edit, and export videos in 4K with a pretty good camera. And while that is okay, it's not the industry standard. And visually, I can't even tell the difference between 1080 and 4K. And when I wear glasses, I have 20/20, so. And see, with that being said, that's why I don't necessarily agree with him. Sure, the bigger your budget, the better your film might come out. I mean, right? Well, that depends. What if you spend, say, 100K for a feature, and it turns out not the way you really wanted, or generally just sucks? This is a point Mark Duplass made in his speech this past March in the South by Southwest Film Festival. I feel like we as independent filmmakers care way too much about getting the good gear, and completely forgetting what's most important. Your voice. What you are. Who you are. And what you have to offer to the table as a filmmaker that makes you, you. I for one can agree that sometimes Hollywood runs out of ideas, and sometimes they don't. These past few weeks, I saw a couple of indie films, and I gotta say, they were amazing. I haven't seen content like that from Hollywood in quite some time. Sure, they weren't visually spectacular or flashy in terms of a $45 million or more Hollywood budget, but man, I wanted to applaud all 3 movies I saw, because those movies literally screamed the director's and writer's name and vision, and that's what I loved about them. Granted, if your budget allows for 4K RAW on a Red Epic or Arri Alexa or even a Blackmagic camera, an amazingly awesome computer with specs that blow everything out of the water, time, space, and all that, then by all means, go right ahead. I'm not knocking getting great gear and pro quality stuff, but ask yourself this, is it necessary? Is it worth the tiring hours and stress to try and find space for that one shot which file size is bigger than your phone's internal memory? I'd say, no. Let's look at these 2 images on screen. Both of these shots look decent, right? Well, what camera do you think was used? You guessed it, an iPhone 6 Plus. Yep. Okay, not convincing enough? Take this film, for example. Tangerine, a film by previously mentioned Mark Duplass and his brother Jay and their production company. Short synopsis, a working girl is on a quest to find the pimp who broke her heart. At first, the story sounds decent, but it has a 6.9 on IMDb. And if that isn't telling you to watch it, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a whopping 96%. Now, it's not clear what their budget was, but the movie grossed $700K. Not big, right? Well, guess what that movie was shot on? 2 iPhone 5S's. iPhone 5S. Literally the 5S. Not even the modern iPhone 6 or 6S. 2 iPhone 5S's with anamorphic lens adapters they got for free because the company at the time gave them their prototypes. Their prototypes. If that doesn't encourage you to go make a freaking movie, nothing will. You may have heard it before, but I'm gonna drill this into your spooky, scary skeleton skulls until you get it. Whether you're shooting on an iPhone or a Canon C300 Mark II, go out and film. Why? Because what matters at the end of the day is your voice, your story, who you are as a filmmaker. I personally feel that film and movies and shows, anything on the screen, is an amazing form of art. and we can't limit ourselves with what we don't have, but go to war with what we do have. The next project I'm working on is a feature film, and I am going to be crowdfunding for it, only to cover some extra gear I need and money for food for the cast and crew. I already have a guy with lighting, I have my Nikon D3200, and the people I'm working with have agreed to help out and act for free. But I still want to give them at least something like food, because who doesn't always want food? And with this movie, I won't be asking for a big budget. I want to prove to the film industry that my voice is out there and exists, with whatever camera I have. So in the end, if you have good gear, great, go shoot a movie. And if you have a DSLR or maybe just as little as an iPhone, great, go shoot a movie. What matters most here is you, your story, your vision, your voice. I'd encourage you to watch Mark Duplass' speech at South by Southwest. And moreover, I'd encourage you to stop whining and go shoot something already, or at least plan a shoot. Because at the end of the day, you'll be able to capture your voice and let the people know who you are. And that is the magic of cinema.